Hi everybody, Lewis Kemper here in Wanderer, and we're heading off to the Mona Lake area to do some nighttime photography and the last test run on the van before I head up to Alaska. So I'll catch up to you when we get to the east side. Well, I'm just sitting down to edit last night's Milky Way pictures. Later on today, I'm going to make you a little demo video of the Polaris, doing it in the daylight to show you what I do at night when I'm taking pictures using the Benro Polaris to do my star track. I just wanted to show you a little bit of what I did with last night's photo shoot. So I'm sitting here in my van in the parking lot at South Tufas at Mona Lake, and I'm making this screen recording on QuickTime because I realized I don't have ScreenFlow downloaded into my laptop. So I'll correct that when I get back home. But I want to show you what I did last night. So I'm going to start off with the base image here. And whoops, that's not where I just was. Click. There we go. So this was the image I wanted to use for my foreground. And when I first took the picture, it looked like this. So I've got some Lucy lights lit up. One lantern actually that I'm holding for this 3-minute exposure, lighting up the foreground. And all I did was open up the shadows a little bit, the exposure some, adjusted the highlights. And then I just painted in a little bit with a masking brush and lightened up this area of the tufa with the arch cut out in it. And this is the image I'm going to use for the foreground. This was the image that I used for the sky. And what I did is I just stepped to my left a little bit to eliminate that tufa tower and get a more clear view of the sky. And here's what the original image looked like. So this is a 3-minute exposure at 30 millimeters at f3.2. You can see 120 seconds at ISO 640. And I'm tracking this with my Benro Polaris motorized tripod head. And it did a great job last night. I hadn't used it in almost a year, and they've really done some great updates, and it worked the best I've ever had it work. So this is great. So with all of my star images, Milky Way images, the first thing I do is I add clarity and I add texture, and that brings out a lot more stars. Then I add saturation to bring out all the color that was in the Milky Way. Here in the Mona Lake region, we have a lot of air glow, which is kind of this greenish color. So the next thing I usually do is go up here and remove green from the saturation. I then boosted the exposure of the whole image about 1/3 of a stop. I darkened the shadows, and then I made a masking brush, and in that brush I just went in and painted with a little more clarity and texture up into the Milky Way itself. So that's what these brush strokes here did. And then I wanted to bring out more of the red nebula, so I just went into hue, saturation, luminance, and saturated the red, the magenta, the yellow, and the orange, and this is my finished image. So now what I do is I take these two images, so my finished sky and my foreground image, and I open these into Photoshop. So I'm just going to hop over into Photoshop because I've already done that. And here's my sky image. So the first thing I need to do with the sky image is I need to save this as a PSD or a TIFF file somewhere on my computer so that I can use it as a sky replacement. So once that's saved into a folder, then I went over to the base image here, and I just went under Edit, Sky Replacement. And that brings up the sky replacement dialog box, and then I have to add that sky I just saved as that PSD. I have to add that into Photoshop to be able to use it as a sky replacement. And maybe one day I'll go into a little more detail on all those steps, but if you use sky replacement, you just go to the plus icon there, you add the new sky, and then the real trick is when you do that in Photoshop, it doesn't automatically take you to that sky. It still leaves you on the last sky you did. So after you load that sky, then you have to select it. So once I did that, I just went here and did a sky replacement. And I added a little bit more contrast. I added this S-curve at the end to the sky to add a little bit more contrast. So that's what I saw last night, and it was absolutely amazing. I'm going to blow this up to 100%. Let's see, double tick the hands. And you can see all the red in the nebula here, all the different colors of the sky. You can see how sharp all the stars are. As I mentioned, the star tracker, the Benro, did a great job last night. So I was really pleased with how the image turned out. And I'm looking forward to doing another shot tonight. I'll surprise you with that one. I've got a great image lined up that I'm looking forward to working on. So that's what I did from 10 o'clock till 2 in the morning last night, was taking these pictures. Got a few hours of sleep last night. Going to be taking a nap in a little while. But that's what I did here at Mono Lake. Hi, I'm here at Mono Lake, and I came to do night star photography, shooting the Milky Way. Tonight I'm going to photograph the Milky Way over Wanderer. So I'm really excited about that idea. So I wanted to show you how the Benro Polaris works and what I'm doing when I take these Milky Way pictures. So I'm going to demonstrate how I do an alignment, and I'm going to be doing this during the daytime, so you won't get to see quite everything, but at night it's too dark to really show you. So I'm going to show you the steps that you go through to make this work. And I was really impressed because I think they did some great updates on the Polaris, and last night it worked flawlessly. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to show you how the camera's mounted and how I do a calibration and what that looks like. If you're not familiar with the Polaris motorized tripod head, I'll just tell you a little bit about it. So I was a Kickstarter person, early adopter of the Benro motorized tripod head. Besides doing the Astro feature that I'm going to talk about and that I use it for the most, so it does many cool things, and one of those would be multi-row panoramas. So if you wanted to have a multi-row panorama, you could put on a fairly long lens like a 70 or 100 millimeter lens. You could aim in the top, you could aim in the bottom in the corner, and it'll calculate for you how many shots it has to take across and how many rows it has to make. And it'll take all those pictures for you and move the camera and take the shots. And then it'll even stitch a JPEG together if you want, or save you your raw files so that you can use them and do it yourself. It has time-lapse features. It has time-lapse with motion. They're refining the Holy Grail time-lapse now, so that you'll be able to shoot from daytime to nighttime, where it'll change your exposure and everything for you, so you get these perfectly smooth-looking time-lapses from day to night. It's just a really, really cool toy. But I use it the most for the Astro stuff. And so with the Astro, I've got the Astro head. It's an addition connected to the tripod head here. And when you're doing astrophotography, first and foremost, that's important, especially with the Benro, is you need to be totally level. So you want to be on a good sturdy tripod, and I've got my Faisal CT 3372 right here, which is my heavy duty tripod. I also have a smaller Faisal tripod that I use for travel, and I've got the leveling base on this to make the leveling very easy. If you're interested in Faisal tripods, I do have a link down below here, and you can get 10% off with the coupon code that's within that link. So to level this, all I have to do is reach down here, loosen the knob, get the little circle in the middle here on the bubble level, and I'm done. I'm totally level. I just want to make sure I turned the lock back on because I swiveled it for you guys. Usually that's locked. So now we're good. The next thing you need to do is you need to calibrate this to do your night photography, because it's going to be tracking, so it needs to know where in the sky it's looking so that it can track the correct speeds. So any tracker, what it does is, the Earth rotates, so the tracker moves in the opposite direction at the same speed, so the stars remain fixed in your frame. So you work this using an app that you can do on your tablet or on your phone. So I'm going to go get that app because that's what we're going to use to do the calibration. Make sure my camera's on to pair it up. Here's my phone. So I'm going to open up the Benro app. So once I open up the Benro app, it's trying to find my device. It's searching for the device. So once it finds a device, it's going to ask me to join. There we go. Here's the device. And we're connecting, so I join. So once I join, what I want to do is click on this little camera in the upper right, and then click on Astro. And then when the Astro comes up, it tells me to calibrate. So to calibrate, you take your phone, and you take the part you talk into and point away from you. Hold your phone in the direction your lens is pointing, and just hit calibrate. And then it says confirm. Now at nighttime, you have to do a little fine tuning, and I'm not going to be able to do that part right here. That's the only part you really won't be able to see. But what you do is you do a go to, so you hit a star, the star over here. Oh, actually we can confirm. I can confirm on the sun. So I can say go to the sun, and you get to watch the Polaris do its stuff. I was thinking I wouldn't have an object bright enough, not realizing I can use the sun. Okay, so there's the sun, and you can see it's off a little bit, but now I have these wheels, so I just go, let's see, I'm going to go that way. So I want to position the camera. And then when you get really close, like when you're working on a star that's small, you get the fine-tune increment, so you can just hold this and it moves real slow. And I want to get the sun in the middle of that center target there. And then I say confirm. And then I start tracking. Now, at night, I would hit the go to, and I could tell it what I want to find. So you see there's a lot of objects there that have the cross in them. They're not visible right now because it's daytime. We're not even up in the sky yet. So I'm going to just say to go to Polaris, which would be north, even though I can't see Polaris right now. But you can see what happens is the camera tracks, and it's going to stop at exactly where Polaris is. So that's how you work it at night. You do your calibration, and then one of the targets is the galactic center for the Milky Way, and I put that there. It's on tracking, and you can see the handles are spinning by themselves here. It's pretty cool. And once I do that, then I can photograph the Milky Way. And the advantage of tracking is I can photograph the Milky Way for 2 or 3 minutes using a low ISO like 640 or 400, where I don't get any noise, and I get all that color information from exposing for 3 or 4 minutes. And I usually shoot fairly wide open. This is a 2.8 lens. With all lenses, if you stop down 1/3 of a stop or 2/3 of a stop, it eliminates what's called coma, where the stars on the very edge of a wide angle look a little bit more like meteors going by, comets, than they do stars. So stopping down that 1/3 or 2/3 will solve that problem for you. And that's all there is to calibrating and working with the Polaris. So I'm going to shoot some more tonight. I'm going to track the Milky Way, and I'm going to do an image where I light up Wanderer. The one thing when you're doing tracking images, you have to take one picture for your foreground and one picture for your background, because the camera's moving during that exposure, so your foreground's going to be a blur. So I'm going to light up Wanderer and photograph Wanderer first, and then I'm going to shoot the Milky Way after and combine those two images. So we'll get to see the results of all of that a little bit later. And here are the results of that session. So this image here is the image I used for the van. And as you can see, this is a 30-second exposure at f4.5, 19 millimeters, an ISO of 640. This is the image I used for the stars. And as you can see, this is an 8-minute exposure at f3.2 at 15 millimeters at ISO 400. I just want to show you how sharp the stars look. And actually we can go up to 100% here. So you can see, let me get rid of that. So you can see how nice the stars look. If I go back to that van image, you can see at 100%, even at 30 seconds, I was starting to get streaking of the stars. And then this is, go back to fit and screen. And this is the combination of those two images using the Benro Polaris star tracker. So if you like this video and you want to see more, please go below and click on the subscribe button. And hopefully I'll see you on some more videos and on my next adventures. Thank you.